Alright. Hope everybody's doing alright. I'm going to do a book review on Book of Enoch. This version is R.H. Charles' version with an introduction by R.A. Gilbert, new introduction by Lon Milo Duquette, I guess is how you pronounce it. Basically, this Book of Enoch is a removed book from the King James Bible. The Vatican removed a lot of books from the Bible, which is kind of disappointing, and I know I've been pumping you guys up past couple videos, anybody who's subscribed to me. By the way, if you haven't, please do. But telling you that I've been reading it and I'm going to review it, and well, I finished it tonight, so I'm going to review it. Enoch is basically the father of Methusala, which is the oldest man to ever live in the Bible. And then Methuselah's son would be Lamech, and then Lamech's son is Noah. This book here, the one I got, which I showed you the cover, so you can pick it up. The very end of the book, after the Book of Enoch, first of all, let me start by saying, is a trilogy. So this is the first Book of Enoch, the most interesting. I don't think I'll be reading the other two. I might later on in life, years from now or something, if I'm still doing a channel, and hopefully I am. Hopefully I'm still alive and kicking, But Book of Enoch's a trilogy. I got the first one. That's the most interesting one. And that's basically, alright, well, what I was going to say is that at the end of this book is a fragment from the Book of Noah. And Book of Enoch is part of the Dead Sea Scrolls, which they discovered in Israel, I think, the Dead Seas. Basically, the story with the Dead Sea Scrolls goes is that some boy or some shepherd or some farmer, and honestly, I'm not going to lie, I haven't studied the Dead Sea Scrolls good enough yet. I got a little bit of literature on it. I'm going to read it and study and kind of catch up on the whole Dead Sea Scroll subject. But they threw a rock into a cave, and instead of hearing, like the rock hit the cave wall, they heard shattering of pots and random thump like it had landed on parchment or something. So they went in, they found the Dead Sea Scrolls. And basically the Dead Sea Scrolls are books that were removed from the Bible or never put in there. You'd have to actually get into the whole Vatican archives and all that jazz. I mean, there's a lot removed. But they removed the Book of Enoch because of the whole giants and the nephilim thing. And actually, the Book of Enoch and most Israeli text are actually perverted forms of cuneiform tablets. And I'm going to cross-reference a book to kind of show you that. Lost Book of Enki, translated cuneiform tablets by Zachariah Sitchin. But I'm going to show you a couple names in here, and they actually play a part in the Lost Book of Enki. Cuneiform tablets that got perverted by Israelis and Jews, and basically early Christianity and Judaism, they took older tales and perverted them. And I don't use perverted as a derogatory term. I use it literally. They warped it, But I'm going to kind of flip through here and the glossary of Lost Book of Enki to kind of show you the original cuneiform figures that they warped in the Bible and stuff. Enki is basically, he's definition, taken heavenward and granted much knowledge. The biblical Enoch, father of Sarpent, Marduk's spouse. So, if you haven't read Lost Book of Enki or checked out my review on it, check it out. Like it, if you want. Check out, Epic of Gilgamesh. This all ties in. If you don't know that the ancient Israel and stuff, they pretty much warped the Old Testament. And here's another part. It's Methusala, which is the son of Enki and Edeni, the biblical Methuselah. And Methuselah, Lamech, and Enoch, they all play parts in some of the cuneiform tablets. so does Noah. But once again, check out some of my earlier videos, Epic of Gilgamesh book review. I get into that. We're going back to ancient times, the earliest texts, you know. Noah was Utnapishtim, and Utnapishtim came from Ziasudra, which was an earlier text than that. But Book of Enoch is basically, he was mentioned literally in the Bible in like a sentence. And if you read Genesis 6, which actually I'll pull out my Bible and read it directly. Alright, so let's see. For anybody, this is a Holy Bible. This is King James Version. So before I get a bunch of Christians bashing me, I have read this, by the way, 6 times cover to cover. So if you want to challenge me in my comments, you know, go right ahead, because I guarantee you have not read the Bible 6 times, and I actually have, because most Christians actually don't read the Bible. They just go to church on Sunday and listen to the Bible read to them. I've read it cover to cover. So Genesis 6, I'll pull it up real quick and I'll read it to you, because this is kind of what the Book of Enoch is based on, but they took the entire Book of Enoch out of the Bible. So give me just a second. Okay, this is a direct passage. This is Genesis 6, verse 1 through 7. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, that the daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives, all that which they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and bare them children. And the same became mighty men, of which were old men of renown. The ungodly sin continues, and God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that the imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continuing, the ungodly to be destroyed. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. King James Bible. Once again, I've promoted the Bible on my channel 1,001 times so far. Read it. I mean, Christian, agnostic, atheist, whatever you are, Satanist, you know, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Actually read the book if you want to argue with somebody that's ignorant. But yeah, basically, Book of Enoch, though, the beginning of the tale is, it literally starts off with a bang, you know. Starts off with all these angels, you know, flying around in heaven, and they're lusting after the daughters of man. And they come down and mate with them and take wives and with them. There's actually multiple angels like Azazel and Raphael and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into all that. But they come down and mate with them and create nephilim, giants. And it gets into the measurements in there. The measurements have been altered throughout the ages. And actually, there has been a lot of evidence of giants on the earth. You can look that up. I would suggest checking out Trey Smith, his channel. He has a documentary, I think it's just called Nephilim or Nephs, something like that. He's a little out there, and he is super Christian, but I dislike Christianity, but I did get a lot out of the documentary. I enjoy his stuff. I still follow his stuff. He's cool. He's cool as hell, definitely. Um, but there is an ancient astronaut spin on it, because where the ancient, text, the Judaism and Christianity, they steal from the cuneiform tablets, and the cuneiform tablets is basically the Anunnaki and stuff. And um, to me, the fallen angels, the rebel angels, would have been the igigi, and I've talked about them in the Lost Book of Enki book review, so check it out. I mean, a lot of this stuff you're going to have to do a lot of reading and or studying on, because, I mean, I'm getting deep in this stuff. But, yeah, and then it gets into, in a certain part of the book, it talks about all these human workers creating chains to chain the angels, and they throw them in earth and different parts of the earth. Enoch, basically, from an ancient astronaut perspective, was beamed up into the sky, and he talks about he was beamed up into the sky into crystal castles and stuff. And they just kind of flew him around, and he got to meet the Lord of Spirits. Got to go from all the different corners of the earth. Got to learn how the stars work. They taught him astronomy. They showed him all the different ends of space and stuff. Another thing too, though, which it's kind of discrediting towards Enoch, is that certain parts of the book he would have visions and stuff, but he would take a nap, and it's well, actually, historically, the Jews back then, the ancient Jews and stuff, were smoking hashish and doing psychedelics and stuff. So it's I mean, I could eat a bunch of mushrooms, take a nap, and get abducted on a UFO spaceship into crystal castles and all that. But I mean, altogether, though, it's a pretty short book. It's 139 pages. Some of it was difficult, like 3/4 of the way through the book, it kind of got into parables and stuff about sheep and all that stuff, and wolves and boars and random animals, and I got kind of lost on it. It's not a bad read. It's a good read. I do think the hype of it was a little, any time I've ever heard of it, everybody's hyping it up like it's some amazing, awesome text. And it was okay. It wasn't long, so I mean, I wasn't disappointed because it was a shorter text. But I do think the hype was bigger than it should have been. I mean, with Book of Enki, Lost Book of Enki, the hype on it actually was good hype, because it was when I was reading it, I was not bored at all. It definitely, all the hype was worth it. But a lot of the hype with Enoch it's not the same. I got a little bored here and there. Took me a little while to read it, but I've been busy too, though, so it's not Enoch's fault. There is one vision I thought was weird. It was talking about mountains of steel, getting destroyed, which I kind of put mountains of steel getting destroyed, buildings. He has a lot of apocalyptic visions, Revelation type style stuff. And the mountains of steel would be, he's having visions of the future. To me, that translated as buildings. But I don't put a lot of, I don't put a lot of trust in prophecies and stuff like that. But I mean, altogether, it was a good book. It got the point across. The angels fell. They mated with the daughters of men, created giants. And then, it pretty much tells that simple story, goes further into detail, more than Genesis 6, because when you read Genesis, it gets into all that and then just totally skips over it. And it's not, it's the reason why it's all skipped over it is because there's gigantic parts missing from the Bible. So if you are a Christian, I would definitely suggest you look into the Apocrypha, because they took a lot of stuff out, and that's a reason why atheists and or Satanists or agnostics, that's why they destroy you in debate, is because half the Bible's missing. So you're missing half of your evidence in a court of law. But yeah, check it out. Towards the end, it's kind of cool. It gets into like Revelation style stuff, apocalypse, and it is good poetry. It's awesome poetry. I felt like I was reading Revelation. I mean, it was dope poetry. I do have to say that about the Book of Enoch and the Bible in general. Like Revelations and the Bible and the Book of Enoch together, like the end of the Book of Enoch, it's dope. It's awesome. As far as the poetry. The fragment of Noah, that's another part of the Dead Sea Scrolls they discovered. I guess it's a fragment of the Book of Noah. I'm already up to like 16 minutes on this video. So I'm not going to read it, but I do think I'm going to make an actual video by itself talking about the Book of Noah, because it does tie into ancient astronaut theory. But I mean, it's a good book. Read it. I got this one brand new. So I got it for $16. I'm not going to lie. I got it brand new for $16 because it had been hyped up so much. And it is worth it. And you always have it if you buy it. But if you can find it used, find it used. It's a good book. I was not disappointed. I enjoyed the entire thing. I got a little bored when it started getting into parables and stuff. But that was about it. And honestly, it's a short book too. So that's why I don't think it's really worth $16. Is because it's only 138 pages. So get it used. That would be my advice to you. The actual book itself is worth reading. But everybody have a good night.